I don't know where to start.
You tell me.
So we just had a flight.
Yeah.
He took me on a flight twice actually. I consider it 2 flights because the wheels touched the ground. We landed once and then we took off right away. How did you call that?
We call it touch and goes.
Touch and go.
Meaning that we touch, like I said, on the ground and we go again.
That's how you train yourself, you said?
That's basically like a huge part of the pilot training is to know how to land an aircraft and how to take off an aircraft. Yeah. Those 2 parts are the most important things in a flight.
Yeah. So just to explain a little background, there's a helicopter just flying outside, just to explain the background noises. But he's going away right now.
He's going, but he's coming back, I can tell you that.
He does that all the time?
Yeah.
Okay. What is it? Why?
This is for ambulance basically. So search and rescue, anything like that.
So we're now at the Diamond aircraft hangar.
Exactly.
These are all
brand new Diamonds, waiting for the customer to pick them up. Then actually we have a couple of demonstrators, meaning we demonstrate the flights in those aircrafts.
Like the one that we just flew with?
Exactly. And basically what we just did was a demonstration flight right now. Yeah?
Yeah, so for those who don't see it, we're surrounded by planes here.
Exactly.
Because I think they only see 2 because of the camera, but it's
they
like
probably
15,
see only 2,
15 small planes around here. And wow, it's amazing. It's 15 inside the hangar, around 15, and I see at least another 20 out there parked.
Exactly.
And the one that we just flew with is right behind the camera.
Yeah.
It's blue, beautiful 4-seat plane.
Yeah.
You call it 4-seat?
We call it the DF50.
Why?
It's a 5-seater.
It's a 5-seater.
Yeah. So it's a bigger brother of the small aircraft that we have here, basically. So this is a DF40, a 4-seater. This is used basically Lufthansa, Turkish Airlines, all of the big airlines, they're using Diamonds actually for training. And that is how I started flying actually also. That was in those kind of aircrafts. So you do your first landings in more or less those aircrafts.
But when you said these planes are here waiting for customers, why do they come to Diamond Aircraft? What do they take these planes? Is this
you can look at it a way, it's like you're buying a new Mercedes-Benz. Yeah, and you pick the new Mercedes-Benz at the factory up. So where you buy your car, you come, you test, you try it out, see if it fits, and then you say, hey, I want a car. Okay, let's wait for a couple of months. We produce the car, and then you come back and pick it up.
So you're saying that regular individuals can buy these planes and learn how to fly and fly them?
Yeah.
Just like they're buying a car and driving?
So we have it's a big market. So we have the flight schools that are buying the small aircrafts and also the DF42s, which is a twin engine. Those are flight schools, yeah? That's a huge market actually for Diamond. And then we have the private customer. A private customer is then more into the DF50, for example, or DF62, which has a bigger cell. So it's basically a bigger car. It's an SUV. So there's not one typical customer that comes to Diamond. We have a large market, I would say.
So they learn how to fly only these kind of planes, and they don't necessarily get in. Because I'm asking you because the impression that we normal people have that only pilots can fly planes.
Yeah.
But these kind of planes are small, and actually even regular people can learn how to fly them.
Even normal people can learn to fly those aircrafts. Yeah. So we have a requirement, of course. You gotta have the PPL. Meaning you have a private pilot license.
Okay.
Okay, and you need to have a certain amount of hours before you come here, of course. But the idea is a private customer, he wants to fly, he's maybe based in, let's say, Lyon, and he has a summer house in Spain. All right?
All right.
His idea is he doesn't want to go through security, pack the whole family, go into the car, go
People
through...
can do that?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is then, instead of going through the whole security thing,
Yeah,
waiting
yeah,
in
yeah.
lines, going then into the big jet, flying then, 1 to 2 hours to Spain, then going back, getting the baggage, everything, you're skipping the whole part
Nice.
by having a license, flight license. Take one of those aircrafts, pack the bags, pack the family, and you fly them away to Spain. So that's the idea. It's the convenient way of flying then.
It's as you say, convenient. When we were flying, I asked you, should I switch it in flight mode, and you said no.
You
In
mean
sense that,
the cell phone?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
cell phone, and it's exactly like driving a car.
Exactly, that's the idea. You jump in, you turn on the engine master switch, you push a button, and you start the engine. But it wasn't
Amazing.
like this. Years ago,
Yeah.
you needed to do a lot of things before you started up the engine. But today, we're trying to make it more simple, and that's why we do it.
Are you also involved, or are you interested also in the engineering part of it?
Yeah, I
What do
am
you do
actually.
at Diamond
So,
Aircraft?
my job is I'm a team member of the flight operation team, and I'm part of the ferry flights, for example. Ferry flights meaning we fly those aircrafts from our base here in Wiener Neustadt to Asia, Canada,
To customers, right?
to customers, exactly. So just like before when I said this is the main factory, just like when you're buying a car. But instead of you coming to Germany to pick up the car from Mercedes-Benz in Germany,
You bring it for them.
I will drive the car to you
Nice.
in the summer house in Spain, and we'll take the handshake there, and you have a new aircraft. So that is one of the jobs that we have, is the ferry flights. Then I do flight instruction. So if you want to buy a plane, you want to learn on the plane, right? So then you come here, and we do a little bit of theory, learning everything about the plane, and then we go fly, just like we did today.
Yeah.
And we land, and we try those touch and goes, and try a lot of things just for you to get to know the aircraft that you're buying.
How long does it usually take for an average person, like a normal person like us, to learn to fly one of these planes?
It really
What's the training? How does it go? There's a 6-month training, or
No, it's a basic PPL license, so it depends on the how good you are, of course, and how much money you're investing in a short period of time. So I did my full license, meaning like ATPL and everything, basically, meaning I am certified, so I can apply for a company like an airliner. Yeah, I have all the license, but that took me around 2 years, and that's more or less what it takes. A PPL you can do that within a half a year,
okay?
but then you gotta have nice weather like this. In
Yeah.
Iceland, it would take 3 years.
Okay. How did you get into flying? When did it start?
Good question. Good question. I think it started actually. So first of all, I'm half Icelandic, half German, and my father lives in Berlin, and my mother went to Iceland. So I was always traveling in between since I was a small kid, 6 years old. I was traveling actually alone.
We got a amazing plane just landed right now.
Yeah.
That's what the noise was.
Yeah, you're gonna hear a lot of them actually.
Okay.
Hopefully, it won't interfere too much, huh?
Let's hope.
Okay. No, but traveling then in between Iceland and Germany, I was always in the plane, like 4 or 5 times a year. And then this one day, I was allowed to go into the cockpit, and that was like seeing Superman and Spider-Man in the front seats. And from there, it never went away, the dream, actually. It's like, it was always in the back of my mind that I was going to do this, and now I'm really, really happy that I stuck to it.
But how did you start then? You had this dream, and how does someone become a pilot?
Yeah, so I started basically immediately after high school. I applied for the flight school in Iceland, and then we begin with the basic flight training and also with theory. So I applied immediately to do the full course, so I will be ready for an airliner in about 2 years. That was the idea originally.
When you say airliner, what do you mean? The big planes?
Big jet
Passengers?
planes, passenger planes, yeah. basically what you're using for traveling, main purpose.
So you do have a license for that as well, right?
I'm not type rated on the plane. So type rating meaning I need to be able to fly those aircrafts, of course, but I have all the licenses to apply for a job there. When I apply for a job there, they will then get me a type rating. Hopefully, if I would, then they would get me a type rating on the plane. But privately paying it privately, it's too much money.
Yeah.
They do actually the same thing then, just like we did now, touch and go. They do that on an airliner also.
Ooh.
Can you imagine that?
Damn, but I hope with no passengers.
No passengers, no. Yeah, so there are many different ways to start flying, right? They begin with getting the PPL license. That's approximately 20, 30, 40 hours, 50 hours maybe. And then from there on, you continue to gather more experience by doing different license. We could be here the whole day, me explaining to you how it works. It is a really unique thing, basically. It's a total different languages, all the different kind of certifications that you need and license. But it can take within a half a year or so to finish everything that you can be able to fly a plane that we flew today. But that's a lot of flying.
Yeah. Wow. I'm still.
You tell me, how did you like what were you feeling in the plane?
I think it was. I wouldn't. First of all, I don't have. I think this is the thing. I don't have anything to compare it with.
No, right?
Because I've never been on a cockpit before or first sit on a plane.
Yeah.
And just sitting next to the pilot. Everything that for you it's the most common thing.
Yeah.
For me, it was the most extraordinary thing because I've never seen that thing before or experienced it.
Yeah.
We were flying, and it's what I was telling you before. It's like a flying car, and it's like we were driving because the plane is small. We were driving, and then suddenly it takes off.
Yeah.
It goes up.
Exactly.
And it looks so controllable, but at the same time, you also feel every small movement. And I think it really takes stomach who's used to.
Yeah.
You need to get used to it. And as I was saying, as soon as we landed,
You felt
the
better.
circle in my head was complete, and I felt better.
Yeah.
It was exciting, overwhelming at the same time. I did feel sick at some point because here's the thing, and it's the same thing when driving. You know, when you drive a car and there are many turns, and as a driver you don't mind them, but the passenger, it feels always different.
Exactly.
That's the thing. So I was that passenger today.
You were that
for
passenger.
something that you have done a million times already. You know? It's as I said, I would do that 100 more times now that I know how it is. But it needed to be that we touch ground again. So I feel the idea of safety.
Yeah.
And I convinced myself that it was nothing.
Yeah.
It was. I didn't even fly with a parachute before, so I don't know if it's similar or not, in the sense of completing this cycle in your
Me
brain.
neither, actually. So I cannot, unfortunately, compare it to that. But it's totally normal what you're saying, actually. Both of you're not steering the aircraft, first of all, right?
Yeah.
And also this sickness. This is just because your body has never been in this place.
Yeah.
And you know what? Actually, when I was starting, I was quite sick after almost every flight. Yeah. In the first 3, 4, 5 lessons, I was close to puking, actually. So
It makes me feel better.
yeah. So that is normal. And I've heard worse stories than that. I've heard stories where pilots were really doing it again and again, and they never got rid of the sickness, you know? But at one point, then the body really adjusts to this feeling, and then it goes away. But it's a threshold for some people.
It could also be, it seems like some people never get over it. For example, you know, like people who always get car sick.
Yeah.
And for the rest of their lives, they drive, but they still get car sick all the time. It's just how some people are.
Exactly.
I think it's a born thing. You cannot get rid of it.
Yeah. And I mean, then of course, this is not the thing that you want to do as a job.
That's what I realized. I wouldn't be able to be a pilot, first of all. because I wouldn't be able to drive it. I don't know. Maybe when you fly it, it's different. Because
I'm absolutely sure you can be a pilot.
You think so?
I'm absolutely sure.
I don't know. It's the thing is when you fly it or you drive a car, you are the only one predicting what's coming next, and the passenger isn't.
Yeah.
And that surprise effect for little things, for little turns. Even when you say that now we're gonna turn, as you said, we're gonna turn on the right so we can see the castle that we were looking up from. Still, I don't know how thick the turn will be or how steep will be.
Steep,
How steep will be, because it's you know, you've done it and you probably don't even realize it. You just do it.
No, exactly, yeah. I just do it. It's become really natural for me, of course. But like what you're saying right there is so normal, and this is something most of the people feel when they begin to fly. So, of course, when I started, I was not like fully ready to fly an aircraft. I was also quite scared, actually. When we were about to land, I was like this, tensing up, grabbing to something, you know, because I wasn't controlling the situation. That was in my first flight. And of course, then you think, can I do it? But with time, you just got to believe in it, and then you can.
Yeah. Well, who knows?
One day, maybe, huh?
Yeah. How is it? I think there's also an age to start this kind of thing, so maybe not one day.
No.
But it would be cool to learn it maybe only for like private small use, as you said, the PPL. You said?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Private pilot lessons.
If I figure out my house in Spain and the other one in Portugal, then I'll look for.
Then you'll have a PPL license, and then you come back and we fly again. Yeah.
But how is it? You also fly overseas when you do ferry, and you went 10 times to Canada, right?
It's now, I think, 12.
It's 12 by now, okay.
Yeah, so that is part of the ferry flights that we do. So that is actually how I had the eyes on Diamond. So since I'm from Iceland, I always knew about those ferry pilots. There are not many ferry pilots, actually. It's a small community, you can say. And me as a student who was flying those Diamonds, I always knew that Diamond aircraft was actually ferrying those aircrafts through Iceland, because Iceland is in the middle of the sea.
Yeah.
We always use Iceland as one of the stops. So I always knew about Diamond, and
they were coming home to you.
They were coming home to me, exactly. And then they were in this survival suit. So we gotta wear the suits.
The orange one that
orange
you show in the
suits.
pictures?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Those are in case we need to ditch in the water, we are already inside the suit, ready
so it's like a thermal?
It's a thermal. It's basically a diving suit, you can say so. Yeah, where no water gets in.
Wow.
That's the idea of it. But as a student, I always saw those ferry pilots, and I always had like kind of a dream to do this one day, but I never thought I would be able to do it, since it's a really small team that is doing it. So when we had the opportunity to fly, or when I had the opportunity to fly my first ferry to my hometown in Iceland, that was a dream come true.
Yeah.
And those ferry flights we do like once in a month, more or less. It depends on how many we sell in this area. But every one of those ferries over the Atlantic is a special one. It's a special operation.
Before I'll continue this, but I just want to mention that at the end of this episode, we have a 10-minute clip showing us flying just what we're talking about. So stick until the end of the episode because it's crazy. The end of it was you'll see me probably feeling sick.
But you also gotta see the face that you made when you took off.
I'm sure it's gonna be so much. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm sure it's gonna be fun. But going back to long flights.
Yes.
Can you maybe describe me what it is like? What do you do during? Because you fly alone, right?
Yeah.
And how do you come back?
With an airliner. So we buy a ticket, then flight ticket from Canada. So the operation is like this. We produce aircraft here in Austria, and we produce aircrafts in Canada. But if there are many buyers in Canada, they cannot produce as many planes as we can. So in that case, we...
So, sorry, here is Diamond Aircraft, here is also a factory?
Yeah, this is a huge factory actually. All the way down to there.
There is a factory of airplanes 1 hour away from Vienna.
Yeah, we are producing them here, just where we are actually.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No problem. So the operation is like that if there's need for more aircrafts, we produce aircraft here and fly it then over the sea, over the Atlantic. And the Atlantic, it's a huge sea, right? And we have the endurance of approximately 6-7 hours is the normal flight endurance. So we gotta make a couple of hops in between. So we cannot fly directly like when you go into an airliner, he flies you directly over.
Yeah.
We gotta make certain stops, meaning that we stop then one time in either Norway or Scotland, somewhere close to the sea.
Yeah.
And then from Norway or Scotland, we fly over the sea, that's the first leg, to Iceland. So we gotta make one flight inside Europe, in the northern part of Europe, to reach to Iceland.
And then for how long do you stop?
We
Just
stay
the fuel?
overnight.
Oh, you stay overnight?
Yeah, depends, of course. But a normal flight would be flying to Norway, staying there overnight. Then the next day we go into the life suit. We pack the boat also in the back. We make everything ready.
Boat?
Yeah, we always have a boat in the back.
Like a one that pops up?
Exactly.
You need it?
Yeah. So again, always ready in case we needed to ditch because we're flying overseas.
But this makes me feel so much better because it feels so safe now that there's a backup for any kind of situation.
Yeah.
And people are so much more valued than, I don't know, maybe 50 years ago or something. There's a thing for everything.
Exactly. I cannot imagine doing those flights 50 years ago, a totally different game.
Well, they were smoking inside at least.
Exactly.
You could have a cigar on the back of the plane.
Exactly. They were doing it.
Yeah.
Like the old ferry pilots, you can imagine. They were like real cowboys. And then they didn't have like an iPad like we do, right? We have all the information that we need, we have in one iPad. They had books. They had books of all the things that they needed to. So
you probably couldn't even fly alone because you needed always help. Or
no, they were able to read out of those books. Something we have learned probably. I could not do it today. Wow. That's the thing with technology. As soon as we don't need it, we don't use it, right?
So it's then you take the flight from Iceland?
Yeah, exactly.
How long is it from there?
So the flight from, let's say, Norway to Iceland is approximately 5 hours. So 5 hours where we wear the suit and we fly overseas to Iceland. Then we stay overnight in Iceland. I meet my mother and my whole family there, have some nice Icelandic fish.
Nice.
That is the one thing I miss the most. And my family, of course. But we stay overnight there. Then we pack up again and we fly to Greenland. So Greenland is also a special place, I can tell you. It's like I remember the first flight from Iceland over to Greenland was like in a movie. Because when you've lived in Iceland for all your life, you know that Greenland is close, but you never see it. But then this one day you take off in Iceland and you fly over to Greenland, and then you really see Greenland, the whole ice cape, the whole big mountains that is on the east side, and just a wild nature that is then it's
to be able to see that from above.
Absolutely crazy. The ice cap over Greenland is so big that when you're flying over it, it looks like you're over the skies because you don't see the horizon. It's just white. It's crazy.
But how do you spend time on the plane? Because I'm sure there's not always something to do. Do you put it on autopilot or?
Yeah, autopilot. Thank God for that, because otherwise we would be the whole time trying to fly the airplane.
Right.
We turn on the autopilot.
Did we go on autopilot today?
No, not this time, because we're just in a traffic pattern where we're doing the touch and goes. But yeah, in the normal flight, I take off, I do my checks and turn on the autopilot, let the autopilot do its thing. I, of course, need to control the autopilot. It's not like I'm turning on an autopilot and it flies me to destination. But then I turn on the autopilot, and like I said, what do you do then for 6 hours?
Sorry about this. Let's give it a second.
That's how it is.
One of our friends.
What do you do in those 6 hours? That's a good question. Now, of course, we do the piloting thing, like monitoring the weather. Yeah, how's the weather changing? Looking at the clouds, and then communicating. You heard when we flew, the whole time there's something going on the frequency. So we communicate, we tell them where we are, we do like position reports. But then there are some dead hours, especially when I'm flying up there in Greenland and North Canada, where nobody is flying at. Then you gotta take a good book with you. I write diaries. So nice. I try to write 1 page per day. So that is actually allowing me to take the time to write down a couple of notes that I've. It's almost like a long meditation. You're 6 hours just in the air, just for yourself, and you suddenly have time to do everything that you pushed to the back of your mind.
You cannot move. You cannot sleep.
No.
You should. Do you leave the chair?
No, I cannot.
No, you cannot leave
the chair.
Too small. So you're just there.
I'm just there.
And you can either. That's the thing. You can only read or write.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. And like it actually sounds boring.
No, it doesn't. It sounds cool. I was just going to ask you, are you going to publish a book? The Diary of a Pilot sounds very cool title.
That would be something, huh?
Yeah, we can go back on the podcast and promote it.
Yeah, exactly. I'll keep that in mind. Yeah, I've never thought about writing a book one day, but I've actually written in the diary just because my grandfather, he actually has done it since the 1980s or something.
He's still alive?
He's still alive and he's still doing it.
He has a diary from since then?
Wow. Yeah. He is like, I don't know, 40 books or something. Every day at 1 page. And, you know, this is like a superpower.
It's a superpower.
Because he can go back in time.
Wow.
You take up 1 page. I have a page where I was born on that day. And he writes the whole day and he knows exactly what he was doing when I was born. So when I always saw it, him writing it, but at one day, 2019, I started then. I said, you know what, fuck it, I'll try to. Then I began with 1 day, began 2 days, then it was 2 weeks, and I'm still doing it actually. So
I think you're the only person I know that writes a diary still.
Yeah?
It's such a rare thing now.
It is so rare.
It's a rare thing. Back when we were in high school, everyone had a diary.
Yeah.
15, 17 years ago, yes. Now, nobody. You're really the only person I know now that writes a diary, and that's cool, super great thing to do.
Yeah.
And as you described, because we have pictures on the phone, we have videos, but they're just a small piece of the day.
Exactly.
And most importantly, they do not describe how you felt when you did something.
Exactly. It's so funny because I was actually just reading one of the pages of 2019, just checking how was I thinking then. And I just described how the weather was during that day. And immediately when I read it, I remembered everything I did this day.
It's like magic.
It is like magic, actually.
Damn.
And I never thought of it like that until basically in the last couple of years where I really saw also the benefits of it. Being able to go back basically and rethink what did you do and etc. I wrote down my first day where I flew alone, right?
Yeah.
And that was in Iceland, and I remember it still every second of that day because that is one like time that you will never forget when you take off your first time. But then reading it again today and being in the situation where I am right now, flying overseas, landing in Iceland, and continuing to Greenland, then you can really also reflect of how far you've come.
Wow.
So thank you to my grandfather, really it's a nice thing to have.
It's an amazing thing to have.
Yeah, yeah.
Look, there's something I'm very curious about. Can you explain me turbulences so I don't freak out anymore for small things?
Yeah, I'll try my best.
Doesn't have to be scientifically correct in a sense, but what happens? The closest comparison I heard is that just like when you drive your car, sometimes it's a bit of a bumpy road, but it doesn't mean that the car will crash. It's just a bumpy road.
Exactly. So probably the best way to describe turbulence is if you think of water, because air moves just like water. Air is like a fluid, meaning that you're on a boat on the seas. This one day you have no waves, but we're on a boat just like this aircraft, right? So when you have a little bit of waves, you will feel it immediately in those aircrafts. But if you have a big ship, like an airliner, and you have some waves, you don't even feel it. But
Right.
the turbulence itself is just the waves moving up and down. And that's the same basically with turbulence. Turbulence can, of course, be quite something. Have you had a flight where you had a lot of
I
turbulence?
did.
Yeah?
I remember that flight
Yeah, I bet.
very well.
It is uncomfortable. It
Yes.
is uncomfortable because, first of all, nobody lets you know.
Yes.
You don't know what is happening. You have no control. You're just sitting in the back and you're a passenger.
You're 10 kilometers up there.
Exactly. So it's a scary thing. But
Yeah.
the aircraft is made like a boat. It won't sink due to the winds, right? It won't just fall down. It is made to fly. As long as you have two wings and two engines or one engine, you're flying the aircraft. The wind will bounce you up and down maybe, or left and right, but it will stay in the air. It's not like it's gonna fall down.
Right. So you're saying what we were saying before. Another thing I want to hear
Yeah.
and feel better
Yeah.
is that an airplane can also fly with one engine if another one goes off for the moment.
Yes. Yes.
It's great to hear.
Yeah, and I mean, it depends on what aircraft you're flying. All the airliners, they can, but for example, now the Diamond aircraft, it is actually specified to do that in a really high performance also. So we lose one engine, you can still fly without any problem, and you can even climb up again. So that is a really nice to have the second engine.
Do the pilot have to do an emergency landing even if the plane just can go on with one engine? They still have to stop, right?
Yeah.
Because it's still
Yeah.
an emergency.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's a good question because I say it's still safe, but still, if you lose one engine, that's what we call a mayday case. Mayday meaning we have an emergency.
Yeah.
So yeah, we do then an emergency landing. And this is something, I mean, I've done also because I'm here at the factory working, and they wanted me to experience how it is. And it's absolutely doable. Absolutely. And you as a passenger shouldn't worry when you're flying as a passenger. If you have an engine failure, that is a really rare moment. And also we can talk about the statistics, how many planes are flying in a day, right?
Yeah.
How many hours?
Yeah.
And then a car, how many?
It's still the safest way of
It's
travel.
the safest way of travel, exactly. And pilots, when they are doing their training, they are doing the extremest things. So we're always thinking of the worst, always preparing for the worst, but hoping for the best.
Why is it that many times the pilots don't inform the people about what's going on?
Yeah, this is something, it depends on the pilots. So I worked as a cabin crew one summer, so it really showed me, and I learned a lot of how important it is to let the passengers know.
Definitely.
Because you just see it on their faces. If they don't know what's happening,
Yeah.
they get scared.
Yeah.
So the reason why they don't let the passengers know, I would say it's because of focus on what they're doing. If they made a go-around, for example, if a go-around meaning a rejected landing, so they're about to land,
Yeah.
but that they don't land and take off again, they are in a focus to doing that correctly. and they then maybe tend to forget to let the passengers know. A good thing would though be to let them know, because the passengers need to know what's happening.
Because when they don't say anything, it feels more and more like they're hiding something.
Okay, yeah.
And so why they're not telling us
What's happening?
what did just happen? And the rejected landing, as you said, it happened to me once, and okay, it happened, but then they still didn't tell us what happened. But it's probably, now it makes sense how you put it. They just don't give a fuck about us at that moment, because they have 300 people that they need to take up again, and unexpectedly.
Exactly. We have this saying in flying, it's aviate, navigate, communicate. Aviate, meaning fly the aircraft. Navigate, know where you're flying, and then you communicate. In the case where they didn't talk to you, they were probably aviating and navigating.
Yes.
That's probably the reason.
Yeah, it would just feel better if they said something. They
Yeah,
can just say, it's all right, that's it.
It's something that I will always try to do it myself as a pilot, to let the passengers know. Just like us right now, don't know if that is on the clip, but we needed to do a go-around.
Yeah.
Because we had we had one aircraft that was about to land, and we had a car on the runway.
Yeah, and then a second plane. But you did a great thing, by the way, because you were talking the whole time and you were explaining what's going on, as if you were talking to someone on the phone. That is the best way to explain to passengers, as if they are not there at all, and you explain the little details, like talking to kids.
Exactly.
You explain, now we're going up again, we're doing up this, there's a car in the runway, we have to go around, I have to turn it so we can wait a little bit until it goes. And that really, I mean, I wasn't worried, because with a little plane I could also see it myself.
Yeah.
But when you're back there as a passenger, you don't see anything.
Exactly.
And I'm not saying that a pilot of a big airplane should explain as many details.
No.
But a little thing helps.
A little bit.
Just a few words, but because there is so much trust put in pilot that I think sometimes it's taken for granted, that so thousands of people, maybe millions of people every day trust a few pilots, so hundreds of pilots, or thousands, I don't know. And that thing is a bit forgotten sometimes, that these many people have faith on you so much that basically we trust the pilot blindly.
Yeah,
that's it. We don't have anything to say in it anymore. We don't have any more control. It's on you. Take us there, whatever you say.
Yeah.
You know? So that's why I'm saying, even if they say only, it's all right, that's it. We're going to calm down.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to do, because the pilot said it. Especially when we've seen that the pilot who just jumped on the plane with us, and we see a big white beard, there is always this impression that when you see an old pilot, it's he's an old pilot.
Old school.
And then there's a double impression, at least for myself, that when the pilot let's say when the pilot speaks German. The pilot speaks German and has a big white beard. Yes, let's go anywhere you want. Take us to Mars.
That's the guy you trust.
I trust them blindly. Well, he knows what he's doing. He might have been pilot only for 6 months, huh?
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that he's been a pilot for 50 years.
Yeah. I get what you mean, and I think it's in the most interest for the pilots to let the passengers know. Also the cabin crew, right? The cabin crew, they also don't know what's happening in this case, and the pilot often then tells cabin crew what is happening, and then cabin crew can also talk to the passengers. So it goes two ways.
You worked also in a cabin crew, you said, and what is this thing I've seen a couple of times, that when one of the pilots, either the pilot or the co-pilot, leaves the cockpit, one of the cabin crews has to go inside, lock the door.
Yeah.
But this is what I've seen, but I don't know if I'm correct.
It's correct.
So why is it same?
So aviation, we learn by mistakes, or we learn by accidents, incidents.
Let's give it a second to our friend here landing. It's still the helicopter, I think. There's an helicopter, it's the same one as before, who's going around and probably doing their checks. I'm just describing until it goes.
It goes up and down every day. Yeah, exactly. You're doing a great job.
Thank you. So yeah, you were telling me about what's this exchange thing on plane.
The reason is that there's never. So you mean that somebody is in front of the door, or
yes?
Yeah.
I think that's the thing. Someone is in front of the door, but I've also seen a cabin crew entering going
exactly.
in. Yeah.
So there are different opinions with this and procedures. Procedures meaning one airliner might do it this way, the other one does it the other way. The reason for this is, first of all, if somebody is in front of the door, it's protecting the door that nobody goes into the door. If a cabin crew goes into the cockpit, that is then a procedure from the airliner, because a pilot should never be alone in the front because of and I think, maybe it's wrong, but I think the reason of it is the crash that was in Germany when the pilot took the whole plane with himself into the mountain.
So it's
trusting
the pilot, but also making sure that the pilot is doing the right thing.
Exactly. They don't want to leave one pilot in the front.
Too much power.
Too much power.
I like this.
Yeah, that is the reason for it. And I remember always when I was cabin crew at Iceland Air, always when they open the door, you always got to check before that nobody is in the galley in front of the door, because the door is locked and there's a code to go in, or the pilots need to open it from the inside. Actually, it's that way. The pilots can open it only from the inside of the cockpit. But when it's open, you got to protect the door, because then that will be a moment where somebody could run into the cockpit.
Yeah, a lot of crazy people out there.
Yeah, of course, you got to be.
I completely believe that might be people who can run just to take a picture of the cockpit.
Yeah, whatever reason. Like, that's also like the interesting thing about like flying in an airliner. It's like you have people from all across the globe, all kinds of backgrounds, all in the same tube, flying together to Bahamas.
It's crazy. Yeah, right? We don't know who's just sitting next to us.
No, each and one of them has their own story, and.
But I mean, if we start thinking about that, then we're never gonna go anywhere. We're just gonna lock ourselves inside our homes, and that's it for the rest of the lives.
Yeah,
you cannot live life like that.
No, and I didn't mean it like in a negative way. It's just so funny thinking about it. Like all kinds of people are together, traveling together. So as a cabin crew, you see all the different situations that can happen. Actually, it's really, really actually interesting how good you become scanning people. Like, you know what gut feeling is?
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
It's a real thing. And it's really, we talk about it as cabin crews, like if you have a gut feeling of something, talk about it. It's like a third eye or something. It's like if you have a feeling there's something wrong with this guy or this woman there, she's having, there's something off, talk about it. And don't reject the feeling, because often that is actually the case. And that's what we actually openly also talk about when we fly. And I have another story actually in this case. So when I began here at Diamond, that was probably around 3 months after I began, I flew to Poland on an air show. With is the aircraft here? Actually, with this aircraft here.
The gray one here?
Yeah.
That's
hopefully you see
aircraft.
it there.
That one, they can see it.
Yeah? Okay. We flew to Poland on a small air show. And we showed the aircraft, we talked to people, there was a nice grill, weather just like this today. And then we were about to leave. Those aircrafts here that we have behind us, they are filled with jet fuel, the same fuel as an airliner uses. But the older ones that are landing here on the runway just in front of us, most often they use avgas. So it's like in a car,
Okay.
more or less.
So like regular diesel and
Yeah,
benzene?
yeah, benzene and diesel. Jet fuel is more or less like diesel, and then you have avgas, which is more like benzene.
Okay.
This one is benzene.
The one going on right now?
Yeah,
That looks old.
it is old.
But it was beautiful. It's this old style.
Exactly.
airplane.
It's a Cessna 172 that I flew actually a lot in Iceland, but that's another story. The thing that day when he was filling up my aircraft with fuel, I wasn't sure. I had a strange feeling about that. First of all, I always want to fill up my aircraft, but in this case, I was like, "Hey, you're filling the aircraft up with jet fuel, right?" And he was like, "Yes, yes, yes." I was like, "Oh, okay, thank you." And then I was like, no, there's something strange going on. I hope he's putting jet fuel into this aircraft because people are not used to fill those kind of aircrafts with the same fuel as the big airliners. So I was a little bit scared that he was putting the wrong fuel inside. And I asked him again, you're absolutely sure you're putting the correct fuel? He's like, yes. Like, okay. But I had this feeling still, right? And then I go closer and just take a look at it, and I see it's blue. And the thing is, avgas is blue, jet fuel is transparent, no color. And I immediately see it's blue.
What did you tell him?
And then I was like, you gotta ask your boss now if this is jet fuel because this one is blue. And he's like, okay, no problem, 5 minutes. And he goes back. I wait 5 minutes and I try to smell it and try to see it. I'm like highly alerted now because this is the wrong fuel.
What could happen if you could fly with
That I will tell you in a
Okay.
second. He then comes back 5 minutes later approximately, red in the face, and he's like, I'm sorry, boss. This is avgas. Everything went all right because I had this gut feeling and I listened to it, right? We were able to identify, okay, there's something going wrong. And the thing that would have happened, now I come back to your question, is that, so jet fuel is heavier than avgas, meaning that first of all, our normal fuel would go into the engines, everything would work fine. So I would have taken off and fly away. But then as soon as my normal fuel is done, avgas, which he topped up, goes into the engine and everything stops. Engine failures.
Shit.
Yeah. So that was one moment where we were quite close to actually, this could have ended really badly.
What did they do? Did they clean the deposit and?
So we of course called then back to Diamond and told them about this. They needed to drain the whole tank, fill it up with jet fuel again, drain it again, and then did some kind of maintenance checking the engines. It was good that we didn't turn on the engines because there was no fuel that went into the system. It was stuck in the
just
wing.
got stuck in the tank.
Yeah.
That's smart.
So
yeah.
3 days later we picked the aircraft up and we flew it home. But that was a lesson learned.
What did you do those 3 days? You just stayed there?
We had a Cessna 172 that picked us up and flew us back.
Oh.
There was this one guy actually at the air show that flew us back.
Where was this? In Iceland?
In Poland.
In Poland, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
Where in Poland so I don't go there? Just kidding.
I cannot
Yeah,
say.
but I'm also not gonna go there.
It was a special case. It's an air show on a grass field. It's small, and this can happen.
It can happen, but this is the part now where I'm like, it must be something more than the human brain in our lives, because that's what you had. It's like it came from somewhere else.
Yeah, I
you
mean,
cannot just think about it and it just came to you.
Exactly.
I
think we sense much more than we actually think.
Yeah.
Sense much more than we actually think. Like, if a person comes into a room, it gives you some kind of a frequency, right?
Yeah.
You immediately feel something. If this guy has had the worst day, he was just getting divorced, if he walks into a room, you feel it.
It's the vibe that everyone says the vibe. This is the vibe, you know.
Yeah.
How did you find out?
I mean,
You were inside the plane when he was...
no, I was beside the wing, so I was just close to him when he was filling it up. Me and my colleague Lucas, we then discovered just by seeing the color and listening to our gut feeling that there was something wrong.
Could it be that the guy had maybe a mild sense of insecurity if he chose the right one, and maybe you unconsciously saw him that he wasn't confident in what he chose?
Maybe.
It's like the vibe that you're talking about.
Exactly.
That was his problem, that you sensed that he might have thought for a moment
sure.
before he wasn't sure. But
Exactly.
he just went for it because it would have been, you know, it's the other problem of the human mind. He would feel like embarrassed if he would ask for his own job.
Exactly. But it's exactly, and I think it was that he was a little bit insecure, which made me insecure.
Yeah.
But that's the same thing that goes on when we are in the aircraft. When you were in the aircraft, I immediately knew when you felt sick.
Yeah.
I immediately knew it. That's a sense that I've learned with experience, because I've flown a lot of people, and immediately when somebody is feeling ill, I know it.
It could
There's
be a
so
change
many
of
signs.
tone when people speak.
You stop to talk,
Yeah.
you get white in the face.
Oh yeah. I cannot wait to watch the video now.
Yeah, me too. You get white in the face, you get sweaty,
Sweaty, yeah.
you want to breathe, you look for the windows, you look for the air vents, you're looking to the outside, then you're closing the eyes, you're not in the phone anymore, all those signs. Then that's when I asked, you good?
Yeah, but it's no, the thing that you mentioned. It's funny how sometimes we can describe people best based on what they don't do instead of what you said. I dropped the phone. I dropped looking around. So these are things that I was doing and I didn't do them anymore. So you can describe a person by things that they don't do.
Yeah, exactly. Again, it's the same thing with stress, right? If you become stressed, you won't be able to do all the kind of things. If you become stressed, you can't even, in some cases, you cannot land the plane, right? And that's why you gotta stay calm.
Can you tell me maybe some fun fact rules of the kind that, pilot should at least sleep these hours before he takes on another flight, or these things like this? Or the drinking thing, for example, when could be, how?
We should hide the beers.
Don't worry about it. But I'm saying like, when is the last moment you can drink before a flight, and these things like this.
Yeah. So it depends if you're commercial or non-commercial. But you shouldn't fly if you have drinking 12 hours before flight.
12.
Yeah.
It's not bad. I thought it was like a week.
Yeah. No.
12 hours is nothing. You just.
But that doesn't mean that you can have a bottle of vodka 12 hours before, go to sleep, and then fly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It means you cannot have an extra red wine with the spaghetti 12 hours before.
Yeah, obviously.
So there are, I would say, so your question is
like some things, whatever you like, that you can share.
Yeah.
Some things that are fun. How do you prepare? What is let's say the pilot's routine and discipline?
Yeah.
Let's put it this way.
So I'll start with that. You always got to put yourself your discipline. Nobody will tell you you shouldn't fly today. All right? So you've got to know yourself. Are you capable to flying people today? Are you capable to doing this and this and this? Have you slept well? Are you stressed? Did you just get a divorce? Did your father just pass 2 days ago? You got to know it. Nobody will tell you or ask you, your father passed away 2 days ago, you shouldn't sleep, you shouldn't fly. You got to put your lines, and that is unfortunately also often learned by doing some mistakes, right? If you have flown too much and this one day you do kind of a mistake that you would never normally do, you know, okay, that was probably my limit. I'm gonna have this as a limit, right? So, for example, our ferry flights is a perfect scenario where we learn our limits. On those ferry flights, we sometimes fly many hours per day, up to 10, 11 hours where we're flying alone. Of course, this is not the perfect scenario, but this sometimes needs to be done due to weather. So, but I've had the case where I flew 10 hours and then I wanted to do an extra flight, which was approximately then 2 hours extra, so 12 hours in the air. And after that flight, I told myself that is probably the last time I want to fly 12 hours alone.
That was the limit.
Yeah, that was my limit. But did I know it before? So you gotta try to think ahead there. And if you do a mistake, learn by it and don't do it again, and keep your limits there. And you are responsibility of the plane and everybody else inside the plane.
Is there any kind of physical training that it takes that you have to do all the time? Let's say, like, for example, I know truck drivers, after 2 hours, they should stop and go around the track 1 or 2 times and then keep driving. Things like this.
Yeah.
Or what do you do?
Like, if I would be flying an airliner, I would stand up, walk back, have a coffee, talk to the cabin crew or something, and then sit back into my right-hand seat and fly again. In this case, you're there. The only thing that you can't do is stretch. You cannot do much more. But that's why all flights over 5 hours becomes a little bit long.
Then it's exactly like driving. It's the same thing.
It's the same thing.
You just cannot stop.
Do you want to drive for more than 6 hours? No.
No. That's my limit, by the way.
Yeah. You see?
Yeah.
You build a limit there.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Exactly.
Then you stick to that limit, and then you're safe to go. It's the same with me. Like, all flights that are over 6 hours, then I rather land at one place before, in the middle, so 3 hours and 3 hours, divided.
Do you need any kind of physical training in a sense? Is it physically difficult to fly the plane?
No, I wouldn't say so. But I do keep physical shape just because I want to have a high performance and high focus on this. So I do it for myself though, right? There's no policy that I should be working out or anything, but I try to do as much sports as I can, because when I am sitting in this aircraft, I'm not doing any sports.
Yeah.
And I know that with age, like, if I wouldn't be training, this sitting in there could be really uncomfortable. So it is recommended that pilots should keep physical training at least.
What do? You go to the gym, you mean? This kind of?
Yeah, I go to the gym. I try to play some football, which is
where you got hurt a few months back. Yeah,
exactly. We wanted to have an interview. When was it?
Man, we first talked in December.
Yeah, first it was December.
We started talking in December about scheduling this. It was supposed to be, I think, February, and then you got hurt.
I played football.
Yes.
Fell on my shoulder and totally wrecked it, and that took me 5 or 6 weeks to get back.
And then I was graduating, and my parents were here.
Congratulations!
Thank you. And then we talked again. And here we are at today is June 13th when we are. 13th. By the way, this is what I realized before you were coming when I was waiting at the cafe.
Yeah.
I look at the watch and I was like, fucking hell, it's Friday 13th today. And I told this guy I'm going to fly for the first time on the cockpit.
I didn't even think about that one.
I almost shit my pants. I was, I cannot go back now.
I'm going to cancel.
And I was it's either something bad's gonna happen, or then I'm gonna break the myth of the Friday 13th that nothing's gonna happen. And
we broke it, yeah?
So we broke the myth.
Yeah, Friday the 13th. I didn't think about it.
Today is the Friday 13th,
and it's your first flight, huh?
It's my first flight.
Perfect.
It is beautiful. How do you say it?
DA50, Diamond DA50.
But how do you read it in the
so the call
Marine
sign
code?
You mean the Oscar Echo Victor Tango Whiskey? Yeah, it's
Oscar,
the-
Echo.
Yeah,
Victor, Tango, Whiskey.
Whiskey. So all of the aircrafts that we have here have call signs. That's to identify which aircraft is what. And we always need to say Oscar, Echo.
Yeah, so it's clear to
so
understand.
it's clear to understand which letter we are talking about.
Yeah, it's I kind of got used to it here in Austria with people on the phone making me spell my last name.
Exactly.
Cesar Anton, Cesar Ida.
Yeah, exactly.
But by the way, how is life for you in Vienna? Did you move here because of this job at
Yeah.
the time on the aircraft?
So I've lived now 2 years here in Vienna. So that was also a crazy thing how I moved here. Actually, it's I was in a flight school in Denmark, and I was teaching, and in the middle of the when I was instructing, people were talking about a job that was available, and I started listening to the students. They were talking about, yeah, Diamond is actually looking for a ferry pilot position, but the requirement is you need to speak German.
Ooh.
And I was like, okay, guys, let's take 10 minutes, 10-minute break.
Easy apply.
And I applied. And then I went here. They called me 2 weeks later, and I went here for the interview, which went well.
Did you fly here?
I did fly here, yeah.
With here? You came here with a plane?
No.
Oh.
I traveled with the airliner to
I
Vienna.
thought you just landed. How cool would
That would
been?
be cool.
Coming for the job interview. Is the runway free? I'm landing now.
They would hire me on the place, huh? No, we went here for an interview and we flew over the Alps. It was absolutely crazy.
So they let you fly right away? But
yeah,
they knew
that was
you...
like the test.
Okay.
So they flew with me. So they wanted to see my skills. And we flew and I got to know the team. And that was also probably really important that I'm a good fit to the team, of course, because it's a small team. And then after the flight, my now boss, Martin, he told me, you know what, I'm actually flying tomorrow to Bremen. Do you want to come with me? And I still didn't know if I had the job or not, so I was like, yes.
It was a second test, bro.
Yeah, I think so. I still gotta ask him if it was a test, but I couldn't say no. I thought this was a chance to show him that I can do it.
And you were going to fly the plane?
I was
Bremen?
going. Yeah, that's what I thought. We were going to fly one of those Diamond aircrafts, and then I went back home to the hotel. We said, okay, let's meet up tomorrow at 9 o'clock. And I called my girlfriend and I was like, I'm sorry, I'm not coming tonight. I'm flying to Bremen. She was like, what? You're flying to Bremen? Yeah, I'm flying to Bremen with Martin. She's like, how are you gonna travel then back to Denmark? And I didn't know that. I had no plan, but I needed to be back in Denmark the next day because I needed to instruct. I was like, shit, I don't know. And then we found out I can take a 8-hour train from Bremen to Denmark.
A night train?
Yeah, evening train.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was the mission, right? I went to the hotel, got into Vienna, saw Vienna, had a small beer, had a schnitzel, and Vienna was beautiful. I never heard about, I mean, I heard about Vienna, but I never thought about going to Vienna. And then actually the station where I went out was Stephansplatz.
Oh,
and I was like,
saw the beautiful thing right away.
The big church. I was like, okay, I could live here. Then next day I come back, buy of course 2 coffees, one for me, one for Martin, because I wanted this job. And then it wasn't those aircraft, it was actually the private jet here.
This one here?
Yeah.
So we have a private jet running for, what is it, a 20-seat
It's
private?
a Phenom 100. I can't remember how many seats are inside.
Pretty much, it's like
9.
9 seats?
No, it's less than 9.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Maybe because they're
It
all
looks big,
big
but
seats.
Yeah. It's comfortable.
But it's like, what, 20 meters or something, 15 meters?
I think the wingspan, or you mean the length?
Yeah, the length. Pretty much, I would say.
Pretty much. Let's say
10, 15 meters.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, so we walk here into this exact hangar, and I was getting ready to walk into one of the Diamonds, but then it was this private jet. And we took off in the private jet.
That's the one you took to Bremen?
Yeah.
You flew that?
No.
He did?
He did, yeah.
Okay.
That was for me as a pilot, that was like a dream. That was totally crazy. I had no words.
So
I was smiling like this the whole time.
That's when he told you that you got the job, or
No, not yet.
He didn't tell you yet?
No.
You got to Bremen and you still...
We got to Bremen, shook hands, said thank you very much. And then I went to Denmark.
Okay.
And then I waited, I think, another week or 2 weeks.
that's-
That was a long wait.
That's a long wait after this.
That was a long wait. But then I got the job. But then I have an apartment in Copenhagen with my girlfriend, which just moved with me to Denmark, to Copenhagen. And I was like, okay.
Let's forget about Denmark. We're going to Vienna.
So let me tell you one thing. My girlfriend, she is my hero here. She is.
Nice.
She's so important to me because just her allowing me to do this is
What's her name?
Julia.
Julia. Hi, Julia.
Hi. No, she's been a hero because she then was totally supportive. She was like, I know this is one-time opportunity. Let's do it. So we just left the place, the apartment that we had, and hoped that somebody would rent it in the next month or so. Otherwise, we would need to pay the rent also there.
Yeah.
I went then back to Iceland to unpack and pack again for Austria. And then Martin calls me. He's like, hey, Lewis.
They call you Louis, not Aron?
Yeah, Lewis.
Okay.
Where are you now? I'm in Iceland. I'm just saying goodbye to my family before I move to Vienna. He's like, okay, cool. When can you start? Like, he wanted me to start as early as possible, right? I was like, oh, I'm just unpacking and then I'm ready to go. I'm ready to fly to Vienna. And I was like, okay. The thing is, I'm actually ferrying one aircraft now from Austria to Canada. And I will land in Iceland in 2 days. Do you want to come with me? And again, this was an opportunity, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, yes, I'll come with you. No problem. So take down the phone and then I said, hey, Julia. So
You know what?
I'm moving a little bit earlier, but this is, I need to say yes. And she again said, hey, no problem. Helped me pack the bags again then. And 2 days later, Martin landed in this suit, in this
The orange one? Yeah.
survival suit. And he had one suit for me. I put it on the suit, packed the bags in the back of the aircraft, and off we went.
That
Julia
sounds-
waved us on the way to Greenland.
That sounds very Top Gun.
That was, yeah, it was
100%.
absolutely crazy.
I
That is
saw-
how I moved here to Vienna.
That's super cool. That's there is something I saw on your pictures and videos. What is this white thing you put here under your nose?
You mean, yeah, it's, sorry, just,
No worries.
that's oxygen. So
For when you fly up there?
when you fly up there, because those aircrafts are not pressurized. Meaning that after 10,000 feet, that's approximately 3 to 4 kilometers, we climb them up, we can climb up to 20,000 feet. Air, of course, it's just like walking up Mount Everest, yeah. After a certain level, you have less oxygen in the air, and then you need oxygen to breathe in. So those are oxygen cannulas. So in the front of the aircraft, there's oxygen built in inside the aircraft, and then you can plug it in with a cannula. Basically the same thing as in a hospital they have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or as a scuba diver.
Or a
right?
scuba diver, yeah.
So you have a deposit in front of there, and you
Yeah, and
connect your...
in the nose compartment, there's this oxygen bottle, and you can
Okay.
take it directly into the cockpit then. Yeah.
Going back to... Sorry. go
No,
ahead.
yeah, no, I was just gonna say, that is then totally, you can use it up to 20,000 feet without having any problem with oxygen.
For how long? How long can it last?
7-8 hours
Okay.
in 20,000 feet approximately.
Because I saw that was very funny when we were flying.
Yeah.
and you open the window. What the fuck?
I opened
That's
the
one
window.
thing I'm not used to, opening the window on a plane while flying. You open the window.
You know, I opened the window because I wanted some airflow to you, because you were feeling a little bit dizzy.
That's where I felt not worse, but what's going on now? We can open the windows while flying.
That's of course,
But
not
this connects
normal.
to what you said, because that's why you need oxygen. That's, you don't feel the, so it's not dangerous, but it's still not isolated, right?
Exactly, it's not isolated.
Okay.
You do feel it if you like. That's one of the most important things when we fly those transatlantic, is to check that the oxygen works. Because when you're flying high altitudes, and you sometimes if you haven't used enough oxygen, you have lack of oxygen, you can pass out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really important to check this, since you're alone in the cockpit.
Going back to your life in Vienna.
Yeah, exactly.
How is it?
Totally forgot.
Because I see this is one of the reasons why we couldn't make it earlier, because you'd take southern ferry flights.
Yeah.
So it happened a couple of times, and this is what I want to ask you: how is life in Vienna, but also by being on call all the time?
Yeah. So life in Vienna is, first of all, beautiful, I would say. Coming from Iceland, where the weather is
Shit.
it's shit. It's in the winter, you have total darkness, right?
Yeah.
And then in the summer, it's like this the whole day. You rarely get like a summer that is over 20 degrees. So moving here with daylight in the wintertime also, that has, like, for me and my girlfriend, it's been way easier just mentally also living here. So we actually have loved living here in Vienna, going to the vineyards,
Yeah.
beautiful city.
Do you fly to Kallenberg?
Yes, of course. No, but we definitely fell in love with the city. It's a beautiful city, I feel like.
Which area do you live?
In the 12th district.
There are some
Meidling.
nice parts there.
Yeah, it's nice. It's not the nicest district, but it's the thing with Meidling. If you're close to that station, you can go anywhere with the trains.
Yeah.
And for me, I'd always take the train then from Meidling here. So it takes me around 40 minutes to go from home to work. Yeah, it's of course not like the first district or the
first
seventh or
district
sixth.
is not even the best, and I think to leave, it's too crowded.
Same, yeah.
But,
Stephansplatz, you can forget about it.
Yeah. But I also lived in the 12th when I first moved here for a year and a half.
Oh, yeah?
Much. Yeah, that's where I also live, near to the station.
Okay. Where do you live now?
Now I live in the 16th, near
16th.
the Ottakring. It's
Okay,
in
yeah.
Ottakringer, which is also nice. It's the same theory in a way as Meidling, so it's not the best, but it's good. It's
Yeah.
because each district has its own good zones or areas where you can live. It has bad ones and it has the good ones.
Exactly.
There's also this reputation of the 10th district, but I can tell you so many areas in 10th district that are amazing to
Yeah.
live. All green, and they have these little lakes
Exactly.
and beautiful
Exactly.
houses. So it's
Yeah, exactly. It's almost unfair to talk about one district, right? It's actually one area in this district.
yeah,
What I would also say though, moving to Vienna was, since I'm half German, I also speak German.
yeah,
So it was easier for me than my girlfriend, for example. For my girlfriend, thank God, she moved with me to Vienna. So she was a cabin crew in Vienna, no, in Iceland, at Iceland Air. But she actually also wanted to try to live in Vienna, and she wanted to get the German language and try it out. Just a new adventure, basically, for us both. And for her, I mean, it's good that I also speak German, so I can teach her a little bit. But that was hard for her, definitely, coming to Vienna, because like job opportunities and stuff like that, you really degrade by not speaking the language.
yeah. So you just said it yourself. They were looking for someone who speaks German.
Yeah, exactly. True.
So
My position.
Yes, for your position.
Yeah. Yeah,
So here it goes. One job is out of the way immediately.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the way it is. It's the way it is, and what makes it harder is that many people sometimes become almost judgmental why foreigners don't speak German.
Yeah.
And they have a hard time understanding that it is a difficult language to learn.
Exactly.
It's very difficult because it's not English. When you live outside a German-speaking country,
Yeah.
for whole of your life, you're just not familiar at all with German. It's not that you heard it somehow somewhere. Nothing
Exactly.
at all. So it's just like going to Japan.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Exactly.
And that's what makes it a bit harder, not having a bit of mutual understanding on this. But
It needs to be mutual,
yeah.
right? I understand like both sides also. Like,
Yeah.
of course, the aim should be then to learn the language
Obviously.
and get into the country and learning a little bit with the
100%.
culture, living with it. But there needs to also be an understanding of the first phases, right?
True, they say after a year, and they are surprised you still don't speak good German. It just takes time.
It takes time.
Especially, so here's the critical point. It's like a huge gap. What happens is that you don't speak German, you cannot get a job because you don't speak German, and you cannot practice German because you don't have a job, and you
Exactly.
will never learn German if you don't practice it.
Exactly.
So you're always in this circle that it's so
Exactly.
hard to overcome.
Exactly. Julia was there. Julia was there for a long time, actually. A long time, I would say. It was approximately at least a year where she was really fighting to get a job.
Yeah.
And we talked then German. We began talking German because getting over this threshold, right? So by talking German, us together at home, she also learned a little bit more. But she also went to a lot of classes, I would say.
Yeah.
She was full-time in German classes.
But here's the thing, you do go to classes, you learn a lot in theory, but if you don't start practicing, you'll be stuck forever in
Exactly. You could do those classes for months and years.
Yes.
But you gotta talk it
Yeah.
when you're in the private life.
It happened once, I also did a German course here before I started university because I had to.
Yeah.
My studies were in German.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, but here we are again doing this in English.
True.
Because when you move here as an adult, it never gets to a point that it gets as easy as English or as convenient
Yeah.
as English. Especially in Vienna, where many people anyway speak English.
Yeah.
What happened is my teacher called me a year after I had finished the course.
Yeah.
And she told me like to share my experience now as a student after these courses, how it was for me. And they didn't know I would be a bit of very brutally honest
Okay.
with the students.
Yeah.
And I also told the teacher, this course, it should change. All German courses should change their approach because they focus so much on grammar.
So much. Yeah.
And then when I went then to work and to university, no one cared about my grammar. They just wanted to understand what I wanted to say.
Yeah,
And that's
exactly.
it. That's it.
Yeah.
And they have to focus more on vocabulary and practicing what you learn.
Exactly.
But they just give you less and less points for stupid grammar mistakes. At this point, I still make a lot of grammar mistakes,
Yeah.
but no one cares. No one ever told me anything about it.
Exactly.
Because that's how much I'm going to have to exchange with the people I'm going to speak German with.
Yeah.
There's not even enough time so they can correct me or so I can feel embarrassed by my German.
Yeah.
And that's the approach the courses should change. They should focus on preparing people for life,
For life,
not for
in
books
Germany or
only.
Austria. Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
And it's the topics they would give us. Jesus, that we were kids. Topics that we cannot use in real life.
Okay.
Teaching us about traffic lights only and climate change. And it's good to know, but it's not, I couldn't use any of those vocabularies in real life.
I bet.
I couldn't even call a plumber when I had a problem at home. I didn't know how to explain. These are the real topics that we should learn in German courses. Start from daily life. You move to Vienna, what do you need? You need to change your apartment. Grocery store, apartment, buying things that you need to buy, going to the doctor, doing a job interview. Start with this because this is what new people need at first.
And that's what they want to learn also, right? Yeah, it's a good point.
And you get stuck, then you don't know how to call, even the police, you don't know how to call to explain if
Yeah.
there's a problem, or the Rettungsdienst,
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah, and I mean, also, of course, like you said, we're talking now in English. You're German. It's the same with me and my girlfriend. She cannot express her maybe in the way that she wants to when she speaks German, but she can speak German, right? But the expression, just like we are talking right now, we could never have this. Or
Definitely.
I don't know.
No, I couldn't. Not at this level. No.
Yeah. So that's also such a difficult part with the German, right?
Yeah.
You want to talk German, but you cannot be as funny as you are in English. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
The joke doesn't work in German, you know?
The way I say it, it's like for people who speak some German, for example, like myself, yes, I speak German, but it's always like imagine yourself waking up in the morning and putting on your back a backpack full of stones and going to work like that. You can carry it, but it's exhausting to carry it all the time.
Wow.
That's the exact thing. That's the same thing with German. I can do it, but it's exhausting. I just have to set myself very manually into German mode, and at some point I found myself even sweating sometimes.
Yeah, I bet. You put it in really good words. Really good words.
That's how I feel about it.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be able to explain this in German.
Exactly. And you know what? This actually opens my eyes a little bit, because I know that every time so my girlfriend Julia, I'm just gonna say Julia now. Julia got a job in the end, right?
Congratulations.
After really walking down streets, putting a paper with the CV, like back on the ground, you know? So it's so tough on the ego there, of course, being back in this place. But she got a job at Mango. And the thing is though, she goes to the job, she talks German the whole day, which is perfect.
Yeah.
But then she comes home. Do you think she wants to talk German?
No, it's exhausting.
It's exhausting. So I'm like, when I come back, I'm like, hey, we should practice a little bit more German, you know?
I practice a lot all day.
Yeah, exactly. But then I'm like, when I want to practice German with her, she is totally done for that day. No chance that we're gonna speak in German now when I'm home. I just want to speak Icelandic and watch a movie, but nothing, you know?
It's true.
Because it's so exhausting, probably.
It's you switch your brain and you convince yourself that that's work, and you do it because you're working.
Yeah.
And that's it. When you're done with it, you're done with work, and you consider yourself done with German for the day as well.
Exactly.
And you're just gonna pick up the next day when you go back to work.
Yeah.
I 100% understand how it feels, and it's how we feel about it.
Yeah.
But Vienna is moving a lot towards understanding more and more these situations.
Probably.
And I know they want to do. They're trying to do things to smoothen this, to have a more, to create this soft landing for new people coming here. It's kind of the reason also why the international is financed by the city of Vienna from the Vienna Business Agency.
Okay, yeah.
To help these people that are new here and make this transition. Because as soon as you move here, if there's nothing in English at all, you're lost. You're basically lost.
And
completely.
Exactly, and that's actually what I forgotten to tell you. That's why I knew exactly who you guys were. When you wrote me on Instagram to ask me if we should meet or something, I was like, wait, I know this from somewhere, because Julia has sent me some news that she read from Austria, and that was the International.
Oh, thank you.
So your platform is really a good purpose, and really like what you guys are doing.
Thank you. I can tell you that we don't have any limit on how much we can drink before we work.
Okay.
In comparison to being a pilot.
yeah, I bet.
But yeah, I'm happy that it's working.
No, it's a good thing, because it allows us also people that are not speaking German and Austrian, that they can be part of the community, that they understand what's happening around them.
So tell me a little bit, because I don't want to talk about us.
Yeah, exactly.
It's about you. So tell me about, first of all, do you ever think that you'll go back to, so Julia might go back to being a cabin crew member and you're gonna fly the plane where she's working?
Yeah, so Let's see.
be a
We
great
are
team.
taking it
In the future,
That
I
would be
mean.
cool. That would be cool.
How cool
That would be
yeah.
super cool. That would be super cool. I'm really happy here at Diamond right now. So I like what I'm doing, and this is something I know I would never have a chance to do again. So I'm just living the moment
I
here.
mean, you have real freedom in the sense you fly planes alone.
That's the thing. I jump inside an aircraft and I fly over the whole world. I'm a pilot in command. I take responsibility of the whole thing. I plan everything around it. So it's a freedom that I cannot describe. So I'm holding a little bit to it, and I like it a lot. But Julia, I can definitely see her going back to cabin crew, 100%. She was really good at her job. And but that's maybe one thing that I gotta say. There's always a little bit pulling you back home. That's because we don't have family here. So you gotta kind of build up a family with the friends that you meet here in Austria. And that's one thing that I didn't even think about when I moved out. But a huge thing that I think about now, how nice it is actually to have the friends that you grew up with, or the family, grandfather, grandmother, right? So there's a little bit of pulling back home there, but we are loving life here in Vienna right now. But let's see what happens.
Definitely, it's not. That's the two things. It's not only the language; it's also the network and the people.
Exactly.
You know, and the connections you made, especially during earlier years, like high school friends. And
Those
family.
friends are.
Yeah.
I believe you can get friends afterwards, but like if you
not
get
the
a
same,
good
yeah.
group there,
Because that's
it's not the same.
whoever you're gonna meet now and new friends you're gonna make, you're not gonna do so many shit things that you used to do when you were a kid and when you didn't care about anything
Exactly.
at all.
You went through so many strange
Yeah,
things.
there was no responsibility. There was no plane to fly the next day when you were in high school.
Exactly.
So you were just going for it, anything, all memories, all the bullshit and everything, and you did it with your friends, and everyone is nostalgic about the shit they did in high school with their friends. When you meet your high school friends still and have a beer, and there is always this "remember when" phrase that starts some conversations.
Yeah.
And I think it will never go away, and we'll never be able to find it in a new country.
No.
On the other hand, I don't know how it is about Iceland, but many countries, taking my country for example, when I go back, there's always less and less people from the ones I knew since back then. So even going back, it's not the best option for many people because they will not find the same people there anymore.
Yeah, okay.
They
all move abroad?
They all moved abroad or became with families, and you know.
Yeah.
So there is a little story that I like to tell in these occasions. There was a poet who lived abroad most of his life, and then he was always writing about his hometown back in his own country, and he was being nostalgic. He was writing poems about it, and then many years later, he decides to go back and visit his own country because he was hometown because he was nostalgic. So he goes and walks the same street, the same areas, goes to the same park as he used to. And then he doesn't feel anything. And he realized that it's not his hometown he was missing, he was just missing childhood.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So sometimes what I'm saying that even if you go back to Iceland, sure, the family is there, that's one thing, but many people might not find what they left when they left. Because people, you know, grow, they advance, they change their mindsets. Or they might, but chances are, I would say 50-50 that you, not you personally, but the person can find.
I get what you mean. So you try to go back like it was, right?
Yeah.
You move back, but then everything has changed meanwhile?
Everything has changed.
Yeah.
Or we changed, maybe.
Exactly. You change a lot when you move abroad.
Yeah.
You can become a totally different person, actually.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a good story, actually.
So this is to tell you that maybe think about it also that, because of course we all get nostalgic, but maybe think about it that maybe you might not find everything that you left there. Though you left 2 years ago, but you also moved, you lived in Denmark.
Yeah.
You changed. I didn't know you back then, but I'm sure you changed a lot in many aspects because people do when they grow up, they gain more confidence, they learn more skills and things. So it's just normal that you might not always find what you left. You might not always pick up where you left off before you left.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a good point. I've never thought about it like this. I've always thought about like stays like this. Meanwhile, I'm gonna do my shit and then I come back. You know?
Yeah, it could be. Some for some it happens, works out just fine
No,
like
but
that.
it's a good point. Good point.
But I think you should still enjoy Vienna for a longer time, because 2 years is nothing.
No, it's nothing. And I'm not saying that I'm moving back tomorrow. Definitely not. I'm saying we are loving the environment. We're loving what we're doing here right now in Vienna. We really feel home also when we come back. So when we're in Iceland, we are actually also looking forward to coming back here, which is a nice feeling.
This is a good part. Now it's becoming home.
Yeah, exactly. But it happened, it took time.
Yeah.
Especially like, that's also the funny thing. Like when you have an apartment, you begin with this empty apartment and you buy furniture and everything. It's your home.
Yes.
But is it your home? Like it becomes my home when for example Julia buys a couple of flowers, or we buy this coffee machine which makes so nice coffee that you're even thinking about it before you go to sleep to wake up and get coffee. You know, those kind of small things, they make the apartment like a home. And that took 1 year approximately. But now we love our apartment, we love Vienna. We have gotten a couple of good friends actually our neighbors. Like the people that live next to us.
Nice.
They are one of the best friends that we have actually here. And so funny this getting to know somebody, getting friends in a different town. It's like dating again. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's so strange.
You're suspicious.
We could be on a date right now almost, right?
Yeah.
Have a couple of beers, having a laugh.
Yeah. And you don't know how it's gonna go, if you're gonna meet again.
Exactly.
If you're gonna call the next morning.
Yeah, it's should I call him tomorrow? Yeah. Should I ask him if she or he wants to go to the cinema? Is it strange? Like, it's so strange because like most of my friends have come from school, but then you go out into the life and you go to a bar and pick up another guy who I just want to have a beer with you. You know, I'm not trying. You know what I mean? It's
I just want to enjoy this beer.
Yes, exactly.
You're now going to be my best friend.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
It's funny how being abroad always brings so many new things all the time.
But I'm so happy that we did it because, like, the experience, the things that you learn, especially Julia, she has learned German, like, in those 2 years, and all the paperwork that you gotta go through getting into the country, it's such a headache.
Yeah.
Everything in German.
Yeah.
Like every letter is in German. That's another thing that is super annoying.
For so many things, you have to still send a letter because they don't even have an email address, or they don't accept emails, or forget about calling them if you don't speak good German.
Paper. It's the same. I'm not going to talk.
And this is the individual part. Now, multiply this by 10 if you want to do business as a foreigner here.
I bet.
I'm
even less stunned that you did it in German. Did you do college, like German?
The university.
Wow, and it was all German?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I had no other choice. Sometimes people find that when you have no choice, doing it is the only choice you have.
It's true. But you probably learned then German quite quickly, or?
I learned German I went from 0 to C1 in 14 months.
Okay. That is good, right? Or is it okay?
It's above the average.
C1? Yeah, okay.
C1 is the native level.
Okay.
But obviously, if you put me to test now, I'm going to be so much worse.
Yeah.
Because you learn, it's different when you get certified, you learn for the exams. You don't learn the whole language.
You want to pass the test.
Yes, you learn to pass the test.
Yeah.
That's it. But then I learn more German by going to classes, and now that I don't go to class anymore and I work mostly in English, I still have to find a way to keep it because I will never be able to go back studying German again. So I have to find a way to not forget it.
Do you talk to your wife?
No, we're both Albanians.
Okay, yeah.
And we had this moment that she said, like, let's try and speak German because she's also still
Studying,
learning.
yeah.
And let's speak German at home, but it just doesn't work. Because first of all, if we're gonna do it, I told her we need to have someone who can correct us so we can learn. Because we can go on forever making mistakes and we're not learning anything. And second, it's just, even with people I speak English with that I know that are, for example, German speakers, when I switch to German, it just doesn't work because I know that I had a more comfortable conversation with you in another language before.
Yeah.
And I cannot make my brain work that way, that just sticks to.
Same with me and Julia.
Yeah.
We are like, both of us, we come and we want to speak German
You're
together.
both also Icelandic,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So it's...
And I speak both, but I'm probably a little bit more comfortable in Icelandic. But it's that thing, right? You cannot express yourself like you want to, and there's something just different, huh?
It's different.
But I grew up from parents that are actually, so my mother, she lived in Berlin. She moved from Iceland, and she also went to a college where psychologist actually, in German then also. So she also learned the language, but she always then talked to me in Icelandic, and my father always talked to me in German. And that's how I got grown up with two languages.
Well, that's the best way. If you learn both of them,
that's the best.
Yeah.
And it stays then also.
It also helps you, I think, one reason why you're so comfortable with changing countries, with speaking English and not minding, is because you do have an origin where your parents moved abroad and had to go through things, and even though you didn't experience it, but you heard it throughout your life in one way or another, and you just witness it at home.
Yeah.
And this makes you like, I'm sure that you wouldn't be surprised if people try to speak to you in English. It doesn't matter to you, right?
No.
It's because of that, because I know people who didn't go through these things, even if they still speak very good English, they don't like to switch it for you.
Yeah.
They just want to do it in German.
Okay. Yeah.
They learn English because they go maybe to conferences abroad, or when they travel as tourists.
Yeah.
But unless you've moved abroad yourself at least once, and if you had like this background in your family, it's bonus points.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, I think it definitely, like, growing up with two languages, and also I think it also is from the support from actually my parents to move abroad. Like my mother, she was like pushing me to try it out, like, because she knew what kind of experience it is for your life to move abroad, to open the view of the world more. It's a huge part why I'm flying aircrafts. It's traveling, seeing different cultures, meeting different people. I love that part of actually traveling, right?
Yeah.
To be open-minded, and it actually opens your mind much more when you move abroad. But you also then reflect back on your home. What nice things do you have at home also, right? If I would move now back home, I would enjoy my fish a little bit more probably than before I left my home. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But here's where I go back to, because I also come from a town, from a city actually. It's by the sea, and the fish that I ate there, I never ate it anywhere else in the world. So I completely relate to the fish story.
It's so funny we're talking about a fish.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
But this is what I want to say. Sometimes we might go also in other countries where they cook fish very, very well. Maybe not in Vienna, but in other countries by the sea. And you're still gonna think like, it's better home.
It's better home.
But it's because it's home. It's not the fish.
Yeah, exactly.
It's home. It's because your mother cooked it for you.
It's the pasta that the mother did for you. Exactly.
And we cannot separate that thought from when we remember things. It's just there. We cannot even split it because it doesn't have a different color. It's like a transparent color just covering the other things, and we cannot see it, but we can feel it.
Yeah, you put it in great words again. Yeah. Exactly.
Two more things. One is a joke that I want to ask you.
Okay.
When you go back after a ferry, that you take a regular plane, or how did you call it? An
Yeah, just like a airliner.
airliner? Yes. When you take that, do you nod the pilot?
Do I?
Do you nod to the pilot?
Do I check who's at the front?
Hey, how's it
No.
going?
No.
What's up, dude?
I don't tell anybody that I'm a pilot. So
Okay.
I'm not like, hey, if you guys are in trouble, I come to the front and save the plane. It's not my way. When I go into the airline on the way back after my ferry, I just want to sleep.
Ah, right.
So really, yeah, maybe I look into the front just to see the cockpit, but that's it. I let the pilots alone.
What do you think about you probably watched the movie Catch Me If You Can, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
couple of times.
What do you think about it? Is it authentic enough?
Yeah,
It's pretty good.
it's pretty good.
But you don't like to go around wearing.
The stripes and
Do you do that?
and 10 cabin crews behind me
Yeah.
and everything. I mean, like that's not what pulls me there. It's more like it's a team, you know. Like in those old days, it was like the golden area of aviation, where it was like super sexy to be this pilot, and all the cabin crews behind you, just walking and smiling.
I mean, that's exaggerated,
Of course.
but
But yeah, I mean, that was first of all always my aim. My aim was always to be an airline pilot in the beginning. And then I went to work as a cabin crew, and I saw immediately, okay, this is a perfect job actually in the future. But I would like to try something different before, right? Because I know this job is so nice that if I would do it, I would probably stay there. But I wanted to have a little bit more adventure and a little bit more of a different experience before I would do anything like this. So let's see. Right now I'm really happy at Diamond. So let's see where it takes me. But yeah, let's see.
It's definitely a great place here. It's
Yeah, I mean,
calmer now.
cannot complain, right? Just by looking around us right now, all those aircrafts are brand new, and it's my job to fly them and take them out for a spin and to test them and then to ferry them. There's one aircraft there in the back, actually, the white and gray one. I might be ferrying that one to Taiwan.
When?
In the next months, I think 2 months, hopefully.
You ever been there before?
No, never.
You gonna stay for a night or two?
I'm gonna stay at least one night, yeah. Hopefully 2. It's a long trip though.
Some place to
It
visit.
takes me probably more than a week to travel to Taiwan
Because of the stops, right?
because of the stops.
Where do you stop when you
Everything that goes also into the east is getting more and more tough because of conflicts in the world.
go there? You have to. It's like.
I cannot fly over Russia. That would easily take 3 days out of the 7 days
Wait,
that's gonna
no
take.
one can fly now over Russia from Europe?
There are airliners that fly still to Russia, but otherwise everything around Russia.
Really?
Yeah.
They don't want anyone in their airspace?
Nope.
It's
It's
because probably they're
war.
trying to protect its war.
Closed area. There are some airlines still flying there. You can buy a flight ticket and fly to Russia.
Go
but
there, yes, but if you're not going there,
yeah, you need to fly around, right?
there are so many things that we cannot think about because we're not in this industry. And
Exactly.
I never thought that that's something you cannot do. And Russia is huge. To not be able to fly over Russia,
It's absolutely like I would love to fly over Russia one day, but because they could here the ferry pilots they could fly to Japan within 4 days just by overflying Russia. Today it takes me 10 days
gosh.
because I gotta fly around the whole thing.
Going back to the times when you were taking ships to go somewhere.
Yeah, imagine
10
that.
days it takes to go in a ship, probably.
Yeah, exactly. No, much longer actually, but it is quite long. But I will enjoy every kind of ferry. I enjoy a lot because I'm landing in all kinds of.
It's this guy again.
It's the
I
same
think he doesn't
guy.
like our podcast.
No, it's the same guy flying back up and down, huh?
I don't think there's any emergency going on. It's probably their training or something.
Now, dude,
Could be.
I'm not even joking. They are on the job the whole time.
Wow.
Yeah. But you gotta imagine all the stops that I do on the way from here to Taiwan. So the things that I'm gonna see
Wow.
are astonishing from a much lower altitude than the airliner. So I am in the nature flying there, you know? So pyramids, when I was flying to South Africa, I was allowed to fly just over the pyramids and do circles around it and see it just from above.
Wow.
That was totally wicked.
Damn.
Yeah.
Where what will your stops be? What are you gonna see?
So our stops on the way, if
you would go to
if
Taiwan.
I fly to Taiwan, that would be probably then Greece to Egypt, sleep in Egypt, in Hurghada. It's at the sea. Then Hurghada, I would fly over to Saudi, and Saudi then to Fujairah, which is UAE in the near of Dubai. Sleep there one night. And then, next destinations would be India. India then to Thailand,
It's basically all around the world.
Hanoi, stay there for 2 nights to make a rest in between, and then continue to China and then Taiwan. So I have never been in any of those countries. For me, that's basically I jump into this aircraft full power and I fly to a total different place where I've never been to.
But do all they have small? Oh, look at this! Small plane.
Yeah, that's the Katana, one of the first aircrafts that Diamond produced.
Nice. I was saying, do all these places where you stop have like these little runways like this one here, or you go to the big airport?
No, I go also to the big airports. Here in Europe, you have endless of those smaller airports where you can land at, and it's much cheaper.
That's where you go usually when you travel in Europe?
Yeah, because it's just so much cheaper.
And there's no
If I land in
traffic.
China, for example, at an international airport, one landing can cost you more than 1,000 euros.
What are these costs, like parking?
Yeah, just touching the wheels is one payment. Yeah, just this touch and go that we did just before, that's one payment that needs to be paid.
And then you park the aircraft somewhere and
Exactly, and then it's an hourly rate, just like when you park your car, but a much higher one. Yeah,
so many things that we can think of.
So many things. So many things.
Is it easier to get access to this airport, or you just can do it? And then you go to land your plane there?
Yeah, you mean at the airports here? No.
No, not here. When you go in China, for example.
Yeah. So if it's you mean why don't I land at small airfields in China?
I don't know. Like wherever you land when you go outside Europe.
Yeah.
And that you have to pay these fees and all that.
Yeah, that's actually one of the toughest parts. It's not flying the aircraft. I mean, I know how to fly it, but in between, like coordination, talking to the people, trying to pay with dollars, but they don't take dollars.
Oh.
You can imagine when I was flying to South Africa, like that was always the adventure was always between the landing and the takeoff. How can we go out of this airport? Me and my colleague Mike, old colleague of mine, who introduced me to Africa, basically. He flew with me to South Africa. He and me, we landed in Malawi, middle of Africa. Which is an international airport. We landed there, and then the airport was empty.
There's no one
Can you
telling you
imagine?
anything. It's just a runway.
It was 7 o'clock, dinner time. Empty airport, nobody there. Then we parked there, and then this one guy comes out. He's like, "Hello, guys," and we were like, "Hey, where can we go inside the airport?" He was like, "This way." No, this way. And he didn't have no clue. So at the end, he told us this way, and we walked this way to the airport. But somebody needs to stamp the passports, right?
Yeah, and what happened?
Otherwise, we cannot depart the next day. we were there with an empty international airport, trying to get somebody to stamp a passport. Nobody is there. And then we luckily had this one guy who knows this one guy who calls this one guy. And that was this one guy in Malawi. He was already at home eating dinner with his family. He was totally pissed that he needed to go back to the airport
to stamp the passport.
He didn't want to do anything before we needed to pay a little bit for the servers to stamp the passport. Like all those kind of things, you know, those are the interesting parts, I would say. Like, yeah, like.
But it's a great adventure.
It is. It is.
And the things that you see from up there, that like the video you posted on Instagram, that weird construction building in Egypt.
In Egypt, the Star Wars landscape there.
So, for those who don't know what we're talking about, if you go to Aron Lewis' account, you'll see that he recently posted a video from above, while flying, about a weird construction that looks like a fortress, kind of governmental secret construction.
Totally, there's something going on there.
There is something going on.
Yeah.
What was the explanation by that person? He said.
What was
he said that it was a
governmental parliament? No.
I don't remember.
I can't remember exactly what it is.
You know why I don't remember? Because probably I didn't. I was.
You didn't care.
I didn't want to believe it because I had this idea that there's weird shit going on inside there. So it's not what he said that it is.
It's in the east of Cairo, so this area.
It's in the middle of the desert.
Yeah, it's just when you go out of Cairo, in the direction of the desert. There's this landscape that looks like just like a Star Wars movie. I was looking for the pyramids actually when I was filming, because I knew the pyramids were close, but I couldn't find them. And then suddenly, when I look on my left-hand side, I see this area. Like, what is this? And that's like, it looks just like the Death Star at Star Wars. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
I find it like as much magnificent as the pyramids almost. No, okay, I wouldn't say so. The pyramids are the top that I've seen from above. But this thing it's strange. It's really strange.
Did you get any signals when you flew above them? Do they talk to you?
Yeah.
Is there someone?
You mean when I was flying over the pyramids or?
No, on these buildings. The pyramids are fine. We know about them. It was the slaves who built them, or the aliens.
Yeah, let's see. But, we have a couple of theories about that, I think. No, nothing particular. Yeah, there are sometimes conflicts with GPS in this area.
Okay, yeah.
So sometimes you lose actually your position. That is commonly known actually in this area.
I mean, it can happen. It's depending on the satellite or all that. I get it. But the pyramids were built by aliens, obviously.
Obviously. Now, the pyramids, like seeing that from above, that was just like I could not speak after the flight. Like, I was with Mika, right? The colleague that flew with me to South Africa, and we just crossed Africa when he asked if it was possible to do a circle around the pyramids. And I was there like a small child.
Oh, that's an old plane right there.
Isn't it the same one?
Yeah.
As before? Yeah, and I was like a small child there. I was like holding to the front, and I was like, are you kidding me? Are we doing this right now? And he's like, yeah, just wait, 10 minutes. For me, it was the first time in Africa. As a guy from Iceland, right?
Yeah.
So far away. Then we see Cairo, which is magnificent also from above. Thousands, millions of houses, all crambled together. And then there were the pyramids. And he asked us, Mika, he is really good at talking at their language. So he knows some phrases, shukran, habibi, everything. And they liked him a lot on the radio. I think that's why they allowed us to fly quite low over the pyramid. So I felt like I could touch him, right?
Wow.
And And after that, I almost wanted him just to fly the aircraft because I was in a shock. I was in shock.
And they were massive, right? They're
Massive,
big.
so massive, and I still cannot explain how they built this thing. You know, aliens, right? But
Yes, of course.
it's
But no, even really,
it's absolutely
Oh, look
crazy.
at the bird. We got a bird inside.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
We actually got to take care of those. They sometimes fly into the engines.
Yeah. It becomes dangerous.
Yeah.
There was a long time ago a flight where I think an Austrian airline flight got hit by birds, I think.
Yeah, that happens. That happens.
But it's not dangerous
No, I mean,
for the passengers. Just an emergency landing.
just an emergency.
It's not,
landing.
it's not
I cannot say.
people,
I
you know.
cannot say it's not dangerous. Of course,
Yeah.
it's not good if
Yeah,
a
of course.
bird flies in. But you know what? The planes are actually tested with this. I actually
real
just
birds?
learned this.
Oof, the
In the old
vegetarians
time-
will hate this.
Yeah, in the years ago they used real birds. Unfortunately, terrible. But today they use like this kind of silicone.
Yeah, convoy.
Yeah. So fake
Yeah,
birds.
that's what they say.
That's what they say. They shoot them inside the engines to test them. So they do attentional. They
Intentional, like,
intentional
like
bird
simulating.
strikes. Yeah. So it's actually tested. My colleagues, they have had bird strikes, but not on the engine itself, but on the wings. It just does happen because, you know, for example, here, like this small bird there, he has maybe a nest close to the runway.
But look how he just stopped right there. He's been there for 2
Yeah,
minutes.
he's listening to us.
Yeah. Crazy.
But he has probably a nest somewhere at the grass, and then he hears this plane flies up, and then there's this plane. So that's, yeah.
Nature is crazy.
Yeah, it
so
is.
many things we cannot explain.
It is.
But you know what we can do?
What?
We can go out and smoke a cigar and have a beer.
Let's do that.
And we can wrap this up because there's still, for people, there's still 10 more minutes to watch of me shitting my pants
Yeah,
when
exactly.
flying. That's gonna be fun.
Yeah, yeah. No, but thanks for having me.
Thanks
It was
a lot
a pleasure
for,
to meet
for
you.
welcoming me here. It's here at the Diamond Aircraft. It's just something. As I told you, this is me like a kid in Disneyland.
Right?
It's crazy here.
That's how I felt when I went to this hangar the first time. When I went to the interview, you can
Yeah.
imagine what I felt.
Yeah. But I thank also the team from my side that they let us come here with the camera and all this. So
Yeah, yeah.
thank you. Let's wrap this up and continue it with our secret theories of the pyramids at the cafe.
We'll do that with an ice cold beer.
Yeah.
Thank you very
Good to
much.
have you. Thank
Take
you.
care.
Tower. Have a good day. Tango Charlie Kilo November Echo.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. How do you hear me? Do you hear me? Okay. Turn on the aircon. We will get cool air. Alright. Okay, we go pre-flight check. Passenger doors, rear door, passenger oxygen valve. Fuel valve is normal and elevator trim. Cowl flaps are down and ECS fan is off. So we continue group. We go after engine start. Oil pressure is checked. Circuit breakers are checked in. And RPM is checked idle 660. Emergency fuel pump is off. Fuel valve is go for emergency. Check the voltage and we turn on the essential bus. Turn this off. Essential bus is on. And P2 stall heat annunciations. We turn on. Check here that the amps are increasing and we get the stall heat fail with essential bus. We turn it off. Alternator 2 decreasing, that is checked, and P2 stall heat off. Avionic master is already on. Initialize FMS setup 1500 118525 is set. I'll check the autopilot. Okay, I'm just finishing my pre-flights basically before we get rolling, and then I do a couple of more checks just before we go, and we should be ready within 5 minutes then to take off. Should be just like in a car. Great.
Oscar Echo Victor Tango Whiskey. Request for departure information for local flight. Pilot in command is Lima Golf +1.
Alright, ready to roll?
Ready to go.
And
Ready to take off, I've always wanted to say.
you hear the engine roaring? That's 300 horsepower in front of us.
So you're like driving it like a car right now. You have your feet on your pedals,
Right.
You're pressing accelerator.
But many people that go first in the aircraft, they're like this because they have been driving a car, right? But this doesn't do anything. but it does something when we're in the air. But when you're on ground, you only steer by the pedals and the power lever. I turn by pushing it to the right side, then I go to the right. If I push it to the left side, I go to the left.
Okay.
So this is more or less my wheels now. And
no.
then the power lever is basically just how much power you put into the engine. So I need,
So accelerator is in your hand actually.
Yeah.
On your feet is the wheel.
instead of my feet.
Hallo, von der
Exactly.
Ostkurs Victor, Sierra Alpha, 2 Minuten südwestlich Ostkreis.
Well, it's so funny to hear this actually, because this goes then way back before I began to fly, because your knowledge of course is like zero.
Sierra Alpha für die 09, Krone 10.
For me, I already forgot that this isn't that common that you steer with the foot.
How much runway does this kind of plane need to take off?
Approximately 500 meters.
How much does a big airplane with a passenger? 2 kilometers?
I wouldn't put any number on it, but
Okay.
much more. Much
Okay.
more. So, for example, you know, bigger runways like in Vienna, they have kilometers runways, right? But this one here is approximately 1,000 meters. Yeah. But this this aircraft is actually then also made to land at shorter runways, and that's why you have much more flexibility where we can fly with this aircraft, right? We can actually also land on a grass field, just like the grass here. So
let's not do that today.
no, we'll skip that for today. But so you know, it actually can do it. All right, so we finish up the checklist then. Brakes, steering, flight instruments are checked. Before takeoff check, parking brake, adjustable backrest is fastened and you're fastened. Keypad is stowed and locked, rear door is closed and latched, and front door is also closed. Just so you see, if I would open the door, you get the door annunciation here. Okay, MFD engine instruments checked, circuit breakers are checked, fuel valve is normal, cowl flaps open. Just gonna turn the AC again on. Okay, flaps. So you see the wings are moving. I'm putting the flaps down. This allows me to flow at a slower speed. So for example, when we're about to land, we have this setting. And if we take off, we have this setting here. Takeoff setting. Okay, I'm gonna check the flight controls. That is basically just checking that everything around the stick is free and correct. And then we go power lever is in ground idle, fatigue check. So then we do the ECU test. We go for turn off the rack again. So now just checking that all the engines are working properly before we take off. That is basically the pre-flight check that we do. And now the computer does it all by itself. In previous aircrafts, like older aircrafts, we needed to do the pre-flight check much more details. But today you have this one button that you push and it does it more or less for you.
This is a Diamond aircraft of what year?
This aircraft particular here, that's
Pretty much.
well, it's old serial number, so it's serial number 006, and I would guess it's from approximately 2018, 19. So it's yeah, you can say so. But we are getting another one actually, a new demonstrator. You can definitely join us again then for a flight.
Let's see how this works.
Yeah, let's exactly.
Behind Oscar Tango Whiskey.
Alright, meaning that one aircraft is about to land here on the left hand side. And you see, we already see it actually here. So here you see the landing aircraft, and then when you go out, I see it on my left hand side. See it here? You ready?
Ready. How much time do you need between planes so you can go? You landed now. How much do you wait before?
There's no time limit now. I just want him to clear the runway before I take off, of course. But if you have a bigger aircraft, you're often limited with the time due to the turbulence that happens after the aircraft has landed. So that's 2 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes, depending on the maximum takeoff weight of the aircraft.
Okay. So here you just look at him and you know that he's gone, right? He's gone.
Exactly. Airspeed is alive. 50, cross check 2 times. 65, rotating.
And Tango
Positive
Charlie
rate.
Kilo November Echo,
Brakes,
please
gear.
cross the runway from Golf to Hotel and continue for holding point Delta.
Golf to Hotel, then the holding point Delta, Tango November Echo.
Alright.
And Oscar Tango Whiskey, we will go in the south traffic pattern.
7.
Okay. Feeling good? Alright, it feels good. I don't think I've ever been so close to taking off plane. Probably not. It's like a small spaceship,
feels
right?
weird. It feels, you feel every little movement.
You do, you do.
I still have to get used to it.
Yeah, that takes a little bit of time. So, basically, like you saw, we just jump into the car, I finish my checklist and we go. That's the beauty of this type of aviation, right? And we are basically now allowed to do whatever we like here in this area. We just need to think of a couple of altitudes that we cannot fly into, because Vienna is just in front of us here. And they have like airspaces, okay? Airspaces meaning in this particular altitude you cannot fly into because you have bigger planes landing in Vienna. So that's what I'm thinking when I fly, that I don't bust those altitudes. That I'm not interfering with the bigger ones.
So basically where we just took off from, it's a free area, kind of?
Yeah, it's called AFIS, so they only give us information of the runway heading. So which runway is in use and what kind of wind we have, what kind of pressure we have in the air. And from there on, they will say own discretion, meaning you can land on your own discretion.
I still can. I have to get used to this.
Yeah, of course.
But it's beautiful up here.
Yeah,
Wow,
in a
it's
second we
amazing
will
here.
see Wiener Neustadt on the right hand side. See it there?
Yeah.
Our Tango Charlie Kilo November Echo, this is for departure runway 09 holding point Delta.
Tango Charlie Kilo November Echo, the wind 040 degrees, 10 knots. You may take off on discretion runway 09.
Take off runway 09 Tango November Echo.
So what is this now?
So what we are doing
Can you
right now
explain
is a traffic pattern. Traffic pattern is what we're doing now. Meaning a traffic pattern is made for basically pilots to learn how to land a plane or how to take off a plane. Because that is the most difficult part of flying.
But you're not learning this today with me, right?
No. I've made a couple of landings before. But this part is a really fun one because we just took it off. What we're gonna do now is we're about to land again. So it goes quickly, you know?
I'll take a picture here. I know for you it's your daily job, but I don't do this very often.
No, I mean, the thing is, you should never take this for granted, right?
Yeah.
What I do, I really try to remind myself that it's a special thing that we're doing, right?
Also, what I come to understand from pilots that every flight should be as important as the first flight or the last flight that the pilot will take, because you cannot lower your guard because you've done 100 flights or 1,000 flights, right?
Exactly.
They have to be equally important.
Exactly. Okay, 1 second now. So what we are gonna do is putting the gear down. There's the runway to the right. And we're gonna lower the power. We're going slowly down. We have 3 green, that is checked, meaning all gears are down. Okay, speed check, flaps 1.
Oscar Tango Whiskey, Foxtrot 3009.
Echo Victor Tango Whiskey 030 Grad 11 Knoten bis 09 Eis.
Agnes Nornal, Oscar Tango Whiskey.
Speed check flaps landing. Okay, final check, 3 green, we're clear to land. The DA50 sound. You hear it? The noise?
Yeah. I wasn't talking to not interfere.
It's basically what is happening is the airflow going over the wing now, since we put in the flaps to landing.
So when you slow down while doing this, it freaks me out.
Yeah?
Because I feel like how the plane's still gonna hold up there if you slow it down.
I will talk about that in the ground.
Yeah. Landing.
Flaps take off, and we power back up.
Echo airborne at time 21, and I will activate.
Rotate.
Going up again.
We're going up again.
Thank you for cooperation.
Close the rate,
Bye-bye.
brakes, no chance of re-landing, gear up.
You're welcome.
Now that was a touch and go. We touch, and we go again.
Okay, go kilo.
That's what we do when we're practicing landings and takeoffs. That's what was You can talk when they talk.
Okay.
I will tell you if not.
It was a very, very smooth landing. I didn't feel anything at all. It was just like going off the stairs somewhere.
That's good to hear. Flaps landing. Actually funny that you got to see this.
What's happening now?
We're doing a go-around because there's a car on the runway.
There's also another plane that just took off.
So what we are doing is exactly the same thing that you told me before, just in a smaller aircraft.
Well, there was another plane.
Yeah, I have it here.
Fox, please cross the runway at your own discretion.
That's the traffic here. Yeah, this... You're not feeling good, huh? You can tell me.
I'm not scared, it's just it's a physical feeling.
I'm totally normal.
I'm one of those people that even in trains I only sit in the driving direction.
Yeah. It's a sporty approach here, huh?
What's happening? It was busy again?
So let me talk you through this. We have a lot of traffic now that are landing at the same time, so you need to coordinate with all the traffic around you. So we needed to do another go around.
Tango Whiskey 040 grad 8 Knotenpiste 09 Landung eigenes West.
Agnes for the Nornal, Oscar Tango Whiskey.
Because we had 2 aircrafts landing at the same time, we needed to do 2 go arounds. But the runway is free now. Okay. The car has left the runway. This is...
Oscar Carl Echo Echo
Perfect
050
landing.
grad 8
Thank you.
Knotenpiste 09 eigenes Vermessen.
Hey, it did really well.
Yeah, but I know what's going to happen as soon as we go out.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, you want to go out now?
Und die Maschine besser zu 09 in Sicht.
Ja, eine Katana in der Nordplatzrunde, sonst haben wir momentan
This
nichts
was
weiter
the
gemeldet, die Piste 09.
Most extraordinary experience I had on a...
Nein, 1 zu 5 und wäre das sicher dann in der Nordplatzrunde.
In a good way.
Yeah, it was...
Ja, der Bodenwind 05.
Now open the windows. Now I can try it. It's good. And keep the head out. Right? That's a nice feeling.
Feels good.
Yeah, like you see, you always gotta be flexible, always gotta work with the situation. We had now a really fun case almost. We had 2 aircrafts landing just before us, and then one car on the runway. So you can imagine what kind of situations we get in here, especially due to a lot of traffic, flight schools, cars, helicopters, diamond aircrafts flying around.
See, there's more coming even after us.
Yeah.
You gonna park?
Yeah, I need to park it like this. There.